Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I was 6 days away from marrying Sandra Miller when I saw it. The week was supposed to be a blur of final fittings, vendor confirmations, and keeping my best man from losing the rings. Instead, I was sitting on my couch Monday morning, coffee in hand, scrolling through Instagram when my stomach dropped. Sandra and I had been living together for a little over 2 years in a two-bedroom apartment downtown. It was supposed to be a temporary place until we bought a house after the wedding, but it had become our base for everything. Shared bills, a joint bank account, and a closet that was more hers than mine. We had agreed to keep our bachelor and bachelorette parties low-key. Mine was Wednesday night at a pool hall with a few close friends. Hers was supposed to be a rooftop lounge with her bridal party, then a river cruise after midnight. Nothing about that raised alarms. The clip I saw on Instagram came from her friend Kara Simmons' close friends story. Kara had been tight with Sandra since their college days and was one of her bridesmaids. I wasn't on that list. Kara must have forgotten to check her settings because it showed up in my feed. The video started harmlessly, the group laughing, music pounding, glasses clinking. Then the camera panned to the bar. Sandra was leaning against it, no engagement ring in sight. A man I didn't know, later I'd learn his name was Tyler, was pouring her a drink. She was smiling, leaning in close enough that her hair brushed his shoulder. Then, over the bass and crowd noise, I heard her voice clearly. "One last night of freedom before I settle for boring. Got to make it count." The words hit me harder than the kiss that followed. Not a quick, tipsy mistake, but a slow, deliberate one, like they had all night. The video cut away after 10 seconds, back to the group cheering. I replayed it twice. Then I screen recorded it. Boring. That was me. The man she was supposed to marry in 6 days. I didn't call her right away. I just sat there, phone in my hand, and thought about the past 4 years. Thought about the savings I'd emptied for this wedding. About how calmly she had kissed another man while talking about me like I was a consolation prize. That's when I decided, before the day was over, I'd find out exactly what happened and what those words really meant. Sandra didn't pick up when I called. I tried again an hour later, straight to voicemail. I sent her a text. "Call me when you get a minute. It's important." Nothing. By early afternoon, I messaged Kara. She replied in 5 minutes. "Paul, can we talk in person?" That told me enough. Whatever I saw wasn't the only problem. We met at a cafe near the river. Kara looked nervous, like she'd been rehearsing what to say. She slid her phone across the table. "You should see the full thing before you jump to conclusions," she said. The longer clip started the same. Laughter, rooftop lights, music. Then Sandra, holding a champagne flute, raised her glass. "One last clean slate." Her friends whooped. She slipped her engagement ring into her purse. Someone handed her a stack of dare cards, and she pulled one that read, "No ring, no rules." She grinned like it was the best idea she'd ever heard. The next part was worse than the first clip. Sandra leaned over the bar, asked Tyler, now clearly the bartender, for his number. He scribbled it on a napkin, slid it to her, and she tucked it into her dress strap before clinking glasses with him. Kara muted the audio at that point, but I didn't need to hear it. I asked, "Why'd you post this?" She sighed, then admitted, "Honestly, I didn't think about you seeing it. I just didn't like the vibe that night." When I got home, Sandra finally called. Her voice was light, almost cheerful. "Hey babe, been running around all day. What's up?" "I saw Kara's video." Silence. Then, "That's not what it looked like." "Really? Because it looked like you were saying you needed one last night of freedom before marrying me, and then kissing some guy." "I was drunk. It was a joke." "You called me boring, Sandra, to a stranger, while you kissed him." She tried to laugh it off, but my voice stayed even. "I'm not marrying someone who thinks they're settling. Either we're honest right now, or there's no wedding to save." That was the moment I knew. I was already leaning toward cancellation. By Tuesday morning, I'd moved past wondering why she said it. The only question now was how to unwind a $30,000 wedding in less than a week. My first stop was with Sarah Kahn, our wedding planner. When I walked into her office, she greeted me with the same bright energy she always had, but the look on her face changed as soon as she saw mine. I told her I needed to discuss canceling the wedding. She opened her laptop and brought up the budget sheet. With the notice being so short, nearly 70% of all vendor payments would be forfeited. The venue alone was the largest loss. Noah Reeves, the manager, would have to release the date, but would still retain most of the fee. Catering, flowers, entertainment, and photography all followed the same penalty terms. The total hit would be over $20,000. The honeymoon wasn't much better. Canceling with only 5 days to go meant almost no refund. After leaving Sarah's office, I went straight to the bank and stopped the final batch of vendor payments scheduled for Thursday. Wednesday afternoon, Sandra showed up at my apartment with her older sister, Evelyn Miller, in tow. She didn't knock, just walked in like it was still our place. Evelyn gave me a polite nod. Sandra stood with her arms folded, eyes hard. "We need to talk," she said. "Go ahead." She sat on the arm of the couch, leaning forward. "Yes, I kissed him. Yes, I said you were boring. But boring just means safe, Paul. You're steady, dependable. That's a compliment." I kept my voice level. "You called me boring, Sandra, not steady, and you said you needed one last night of freedom before marrying me. I was drunk. It was a game. We were pulling dare cards." Evelyn cut in. "She regrets it, Paul. She's been a mess since you saw that video." "I'm sure she regrets me finding out." Sandra's voice rose. "This doesn't have to end the wedding. We could push it back, go to counseling." I held up a hand. "There's one option. You write a message to every guest explaining exactly what you did. Then maybe we can talk about counseling. But the wedding comes off the calendar today." Her mouth fell open. "I'm not humiliating myself like that." "Then we're done here." I walked to the bedroom, pulled the ring box from the drawer, and set it on the counter. "I'll be returning this tomorrow. The venue papers are already signed." Sandra hesitated for a moment, then reached for her finger, slid off the engagement ring, and set it in my palm without a word. I placed it in the box and put it on the counter. She stood there, speechless, as Evelyn put a hand on her arm. "Come on, Sandra." They left without another word. The next morning I was at the jeweler's. They offered me 60% of what I paid for the ring. I took it. Saturday morning should have been chaos. Groomsmen running late, tuxes getting pressed, vendors double-checking timeline. Instead, I was sitting on my couch in sweatpants when my phone started buzzing. First, it was my cousin. "Are you running late?" "The venue's locked." Then my aunt said, "We're standing outside. There's a note on the door saying it's canceled. What's going on?" I kept my responses short. "Wedding is off. I'll explain later." By noon, I'd lost count of the calls. I hated the mess, but it wasn't mine to clean up. At 12:30, Sandra called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. On the fourth try, I picked up. Her voice was frantic. "Paul, please, we can still fix this. We can do something small, just family." "No, Sandra, there's nothing to fix. It was one stupid night. Don't throw away 4 years over—" "I'm not throwing away 4 years. I'm refusing to spend the next 40 with someone who talks about me like I'm a consolation prize and kisses other men for fun." She started crying, but I didn't say anything. Eventually, she hung up. An hour later, Kara called. "Paul, I'm sorry. I didn't think it would blow up like this. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You didn't hurt me. You showed me the truth." By late afternoon, I had a folder on my desk with receipts from every vendor, the refund from the jeweler, and copies of the cancellation emails. It was my version of a war log, proof of what it had cost to walk away. And even with the loss, it still felt like a win. By the following Saturday, the story had made its way through every corner of our social circle. People who hadn't spoken to me in years were suddenly texting, "Heard what happened. You okay?" Some called to demand explanations. Others just wanted to know the truth. My answer never changed. Wedding canceled due to actions at the bachelorette party. I will not marry someone who speaks and behaves that way toward me. Sandra's version was different. She told friends it was just harmless fun, pre-wedding jitters, and that I'd overreacted. According to her, the kiss was meaningless, and the comment was a joke that I'd taken personally. Financially, I wrapped up the damage. I took Sandra off the lease, the phone plan, and the joint bank account. She moved back in with her parents on Thursday without saying a word. Michael, my best friend, stopped by Friday night with a couple of beers. "You've been quiet through all this," he said. "Talking won't change the facts." He nodded slowly. "You know, staying calm is the best thing you could have done. She can't twist it if you don't give her new material." He was right. The more I stayed measured, the more her story fell apart on its own. 3 weeks out, Sandra's campaign to patch things up shifted again. Word got back to me through mutual friends that she'd started therapy. She was telling people her therapist thought couples counseling could help us work through it. She texted me one night, "Can we meet? Just to talk?" I replied, "There's nothing to talk about." The next day, she sent a longer message, paragraphs about how she'd been drunk, scared, and trying to feel something exciting before settling into married life. I answered once, "Trust is gone. That's not something you rebuild after you've shown someone who you really are." After that, I stopped responding. With the wedding behind me, my evenings opened up. I joined a Saturday running group just to get out of the apartment. In my third week, I ended up jogging next to Emma Morales, a graphic designer who'd moved to the city last year. She was direct, funny, and didn't sugarcoat anything. When the topic of relationships came up, she said, "The second someone makes you feel like they're settling for you, that's your cue to go." It was the kind of clarity I wished I'd heard years ago. By mid-February, the calls stopped. Sandra's silence felt like the first real step toward normal. And for the first time in months, I caught myself thinking less about what I'd lost and more about what I'd avoided. 2 months after the day that never happened, Sandra's mother sent me one last message. "I hope you find happiness, Paul. I'm sorry it ended like this." Around the same time, I heard Sandra was dating someone she'd met on an app. According to mutual friends, they were moving fast. If that was how she chose to move on, so be it. But people don't forget what she did. The story had already made the rounds, and the video still came up in conversations she couldn't control. I was seeing Emma by then. We kept it simple. Dinner after a run, a Sunday walk through the park. She knew the whole story, not because I volunteered it right away, but because she asked directly. When I finished, she just shook her head. Anyone who would say that about their fiancé doesn't know what they have. Her words landed differently, not in a bitter way, but in a way that reminded me why I'd made the decision I did. Sandra texted me once more in late March. "I heard you're seeing someone. I hope you're happy. I learned a lot from losing you. I'll never take another relationship for granted." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Yesterday would have been our 3-month anniversary. Instead of a dinner in some overpriced restaurant, I had steak at a small neighborhood place with someone who actually seemed excited to be with me. Looking back, that Instagram clip was just information I didn't want, but needed. Sandra wanted one last night of freedom before settling for boring. She got what she asked for, permanent freedom from me. I wanted a wife who valued me, who saw safe and steady as strengths, not as consolation prizes. By acting in that one decisive week, I got exactly that. Freedom from someone who didn't respect me enough to stay true for even the last week before our wedding. The cost was thousands of dollars, but in the long run, it saved me everything else. Thank you for watching.